For more than 3,000 years, a sealed tomb lay hidden beneath the cliffs of Egypt's Valley of the Kings. When archaeologists entered it in 1907, they expected to find another forgotten royal burial. Instead, they found a damaged coffin, erased royal names, funerary objects belonging to different people, and a mysterious mummy whose identity would remain debated for generations. The tomb became known as KV-55. It was never literally labeled forbidden, but it had been sealed after burial, hidden beneath the ancient landscape, and left undisturbed for centuries. Or at least that was the intention, because someone had already been inside, and what they had done to the burial made the mystery even deeper. The Valley of the Kings near modern Luxor was once the burial ground of Egypt's pharaohs. Hidden beneath the cliffs were tombs filled with objects meant to protect rulers in the afterlife. But KV-55 was unusual. It was small, its layout was simple, and the objects inside seemed to belong to different members of Egypt's royal family. To understand why, we have to return to one of the most chaotic periods in Egyptian history. Pharaoh Akhenaten had challenged Egypt's traditional religion. He elevated the Aten, moved the royal court to a new capital, and broke with powerful religious traditions. But after his death, the old order returned. The new capital was abandoned. Akhenaten's monuments were dismantled, and his name gradually disappeared from later royal history. It was during this turbulent transition that KV-55 appears to have been used. The entrance was discovered in January 1907 by workers excavating for British archaeologist Edward Ayrton. After clearing away debris, they entered a narrow passage leading to a single chamber. What they found inside was confusing. There was a gilded coffin, but something was clearly wrong with it. The coffin had originally been made for a royal woman. Then it had been modified for a man. The original name had been removed. Other inscriptions had also been altered. Nearby were funerary objects connected to Queen Tai, the mother of Akhenaten. Why were these objects gathered together? And who was the man placed inside the altered coffin? Then came the most important discovery: a mummy. The body was male, but had been badly disturbed. The burial had suffered damage, and the coffin no longer provided a simple answer. For archaeologists, this created a problem. Royal burials usually contain names, titles, and objects that helped identify the deceased. Here, some of those clues had been deliberately removed or changed. So researchers had to reconstruct the identity from fragments. One possibility was Akhenaten himself. Another was Smenkhare, a mysterious ruler who may have briefly succeeded him. For decades, Egyptologists argued over the answer. Then modern science offered new evidence. Researchers examined the royal mummies using CT scans and genetic analysis. The KV-55 individual was found to be closely related to Tutankhamun and, according to the genetic results, was his biological father. This strongly supported identifying the mummy as Akhenaten, but the discovery did not solve every question. In some ways, it created more. The tomb appears to have been a reburial rather than a tomb originally prepared for the man inside. Funerary equipment may have been moved. The coffin had been repurposed. Names have been erased. And the burial seems to belong to the period when Egypt was reversing Akhenaten's religious revolution. That raises a difficult possibility. Was someone deliberately trying to make this burial disappear? There is no reliable evidence of a secret society or supernatural curse. But there is strong evidence that Akhenaten's legacy was attacked. His monuments were dismantled. His name was removed from later traditions. His capital was abandoned, and the rulers who followed him restored Egypt's older religious system. KV-55 may have been caught in the middle of that transformation. Perhaps the burial was moved to protect the remains. Perhaps the royal family wanted the body preserved while distancing itself from Akhenaten's controversial legacy. Or perhaps several practical decisions during a chaotic political transition created the strange burial archaeologists eventually discovered. The truth is that we cannot know every detail. And that uncertainty is exactly what makes KV-55 so fascinating, because this small chamber preserved evidence of a much larger struggle, a struggle over religion, a struggle over succession, and ultimately, a struggle over memory. The Egyptians could erase names from stone. They could dismantle monuments. They could abandon entire cities. But they could not erase every physical trace. The mummy remained. The altered coffin remained. The erased inscriptions remained visible as scars. Thousands of years later, archaeologists could still reconstruct pieces of the story. Yet one question refuses to disappear. If the mummy really belonged to Akhenaten, why was his burial treated so differently? Why was the coffin altered? Why were names removed? And why was the body placed inside such an unusual tomb? Archaeology can tell us what was buried. It can reveal when objects were made. Modern science can uncover family relationships hidden inside ancient remains. But it cannot always tell us why someone wanted a memory to disappear. Maybe that is the real secret of KV-55. The mystery was never simply what they found inside. It was why the evidence looked as though someone had tried to make sure we would never know who was there. The tomb was sealed. The names were erased. But the past left one final trace. And thousands of years later, it was still enough to make the forgotten speak again.